news, yo.
That's right.
This KP's video news, yo.
That's right, folks. KP's Video News, and it ain't just fake news. This is the real news. And gotta hit you up with this story because this stuff is going on right now. It's going on right now. So you gotta really be aware and make sure you're getting the real deal. You know, ain't nothing like the real thing. So, having said that, Facebook removes troll farm posing as African American support for the DC dunce, Donald Trump. Facebook also removed hundreds of fake accounts linked to conservative media outlets, the Epoch Times. So, Facebook removes hundreds of accounts on Thursday from a foreign troll farm posing as African Americans in support of Donald Trump and QAnon supporters. It also removed hundreds of fake accounts linked to conservative media outlets, the Epoch Times, that push pro-Trump conspiracy theories about coronavirus and protests in the United States. Facebook took down the accounts as part of its enforcement against coordinated inauthentic behavior, which is the use of fake accounts to inflate the reach of content or products on social media. The foreign pro-Trump troll farm was based in Romania and pushed content on Instagram under names like Black People Vote for Trump, and on Facebook under We Love Our President. Troll farms, groups of people that work together to manipulate internet disclosure with fake accounts, are often outsourced and purchased by foreign governments or businesses to push specific political talking points. Facebook's head of security policy said that the troll farm's motivations were unclear, but they didn't see clear evidence of financial motivation. And Facebook stressed that the takedowns were based on behavior and not content, like breaking the rules against creating fake accounts to boost engagement on some pieces of content. Researchers at the Atlantic Council found that many of the troll farms posts came from a person called David Adrian, which used a stolen profile photo and claimed to be living in both Romania and Montana. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter have since removed multiple accounts from the David Adrian person, and a separate troll operation tied the pro-Trump media organization Epoch Media Group featured 303 Facebook accounts, 181 pages, 44 Facebook groups, and 31 Instagram accounts, which were followed by more than 2 million people across both services. Epoch Media Group is a parent company of the newspaper, the Epoch Times, and the accounts were tied to a digital media outlet called Truth Media, which Facebook says it has banned from its services. Accounts posted about ongoing U.S. protests and conspiracy theories about who's behind them. Some accounts pushed health information about COVID-19, which led to their ban from their services before this month's takedown. Stephen Gregory, publisher of the Epoch Times English language edition, denied that the company was associated with Truth Media. The Epoch Times and Epoch Media Group are not in any way linked to Truth Media. This is what they claim. And the same network appears to have created a still active White House petition to start calling the novel coronavirus the CCP virus, according to an investigation which tracks disinformation on social media. Facebook has twice taken action against Epoch Times related content, most recently for its use of AI-generated deepfake style profile pictures on fake accounts that push Epoch Times stories and talking points. Facebook banned Epoch Times from advertising on its platform last year after it purchased ads under account names like Honest Paper and Pure Honest Journalism to get around the social network's ad review system. At the time, Epoch Times was the largest buyer of pro-Trump ads on Facebook outside of the Trump campaign. An example of New Epoch Media takedown provided Facebook showed an account called Truth 14 pushing a meme about a baseball player who didn't kneel during the national anthem, part of the account's strategy to push pro-Trump culture war messaging. And so, you know, it's a bunch of garbage, man. I'm telling you, boy, these guys are just you know, something else. So they had these guys had, I mean, so many accounts, man. The Epoch Times was removed from Facebook. They had about 300 accounts. I mean, crazy. 300 doggone fake accounts they had over there, pushing all that garbage out there. So you gotta filter this stuff out, folks. You see stuff popping up, and you say, well, let me read this and see what's up. No, don't even waste your time, because it's a load of crap. It's a load of crap, and so you know, it's a big load of crap. So we got the COVID-19 death toll rises for the 5th straight week. The pandemic of the novel coronavirus that has killed more than 712,000 people worldwide, and over 19 million people across the globe have been diagnosed with COVID-19 and the disease caused by the new respiratory virus, according to the data compiled by the CDC and engineering at Johns Hopkins University. The actual numbers are believed to be much higher due to testing shortages and many unreported cases and suspicions that some national governments are hiding or downplaying the scope of their outbreaks. Since the first cases were detected in December, the United States has become one of the worst affected countries, with more than 4.8 million diagnosed and at least 160,000 deaths. And the U.S. deaths rise over a week for the 5th straight week. 5th straight week, man. And the State Department lifts global level 4 travel advisory. Ohio governor tested negative for COVID after his second test. So that governor tested positive at first, and then he tested negative. So, which really don't mean much, because the way the doctor was talking about the other day, he stated that even though the governor tested positive and then he tested negative, you don't know which test was false. With either was it a false positive, or was it a false negative? One of them was wrong, but you just don't know which one was wrong. And this case here is really disturbing. A Louisiana Supreme Court upholds a black man's life sentence for stealing hedge clippers, and a really stupid situation. A black Louisiana man will spend the rest of his life in prison for stealing hedge clippers, attempted to steal hedge clippers, after the Louisiana Supreme Court denied his request to have his sentence overturned last week. His name is Fair Wayne Bryant, 62 years old, was convicted in 1997 on one count of attempted burglary. In his appeal to the Circuit Court of Louisiana in 2018, his attorney wrote that Bryant contends that his life sentence is unconstitutionally harsh and excessive. Last week, though the state Supreme Court disagreed with 5 justices choosing to uphold the life sentence. The lone dissenter in the decision was Supreme Court Justice Bernette Johnson, who wrote that the sentence imposed is excessive and disproportionate to the offense the defendant committed. Johnson is the only female and the only black person on the court, and the rest of the justices are all white men. The sentence is sanctioned under the habitual offender law, Johnson noted in her dissent, meaning that Bryant's previous criminal history supports the sentence. Bryant was convicted in 79 for attempted robbery and in 87 for possession of stolen goods, attempted forgery of a check worth $150, and a simple burglary of an inhabited dwelling in 1992. And all those before 1997, when he got arrested for attempting to steal hedge clippers. But Johnson also mentioned the cost of Bryant's sentence, writing that in his 23 years in prison has already cost taxpayers $500,000 to keep him. And if he lives another 20 years, they would have paid $1 million to punish Mr. Bryant in this failed effort to steal a set of hedge clippers. Bryant's sentence is a modern manifestation of pig laws, which were created in the years after Restoration, after the Civil War. Johnson also said the laws criminalized recently emancipated African American citizens by introducing extreme sentences for petty theft associated with poverty. And the man's life sentence for a failed attempt to steal a set of 3 hedge clippers is grossly out of proportion to the crime and serves no legitimate penal purpose. While Johnson said she would grant the appeal, the other 5 justices denied it, and one abstained. And they need to take this to the Supreme Court and try to get some justice on this. Anyway, gun sales spike among African Americans, and so when Americans panic, they buy guns, lots of them, during the first 6 months of 2020 amid a global coronavirus pandemic. Gun retailers have reported a record 10.3 million firearm transactions, according to a new survey by the National Shooting Sports Foundation. Overall, gun sales in the U.S. have increased by 95%, while ammunition sales increased 139% compared to the same period last year. And while various demographic groups are buying guns in 2020, African American counts for the highest increase in the gun purchases of any group. The highest overall firearm sales increase comes from black men and women, who show a 58.2% increase in purchases during the first 6 months of 2020 versus the same period last year. And the bottom line is that there has never been a sustained surge in firearm sales quite like what we're in the midst of. In many states, estimated gun sales doubled in March compared with February, and in Utah, they nearly tripled. And in Michigan, the coronavirus hotspot, sales more than tripled. Yet, it's not the first time gun sales have surged following an event with national implications. In 2012, more than 3 million were purchased in the months after the Sandy Hook Elementary School massacre, in which a gunman killed 26 people, including 20 children, in Newton, Connecticut. After this tragedy, Americans feared stricter gun laws, so they bought more guns. And in the 8 years under President Obama, the gun industry grew 158% over fears of impending gun control. While much of the spike in the sales only can be attributed to uncertainty surrounding business shutdowns and initial stay-at-home orders because of the COVID-19 precautions, most sales may be due to uneasiness and calls to defund the police departments. Michael Cargill, a black man and the owner of Central Texas Gun Works in Austin, Texas, says that amid all the anxiety over the pandemic and rallies, people are buying guns to take personal responsibility for their safety. People were concerned with people breaking into their home or breaking into their vehicle or attacking them while they're in their vehicles, he said in the video. And so people wanted to take their own protection into their own hands. The past few months, Cargill says he's seen triple the amount of people coming into his store wanting to purchase firearms, and he's noticed a surge in black customers in particular. Cargill believes black people are buying more guns because they are getting more educated on the history of gun control. They are understanding that gun control first started in the 1800s, so people are realizing that every time there's a gun law that is targeting a certain group of people, it's usually the African American group, he said. So they're saying, with everything going on, we've got to make sure that we're legal with this firearm. We're going to make sure we know what the law is. We want to make sure that we know where we can take it and where we can't take it. History shows that gun control laws have always been unfavorable to black Americans. Even before America was a country, black people were banned from owning guns. This first gun control law in the territory that is now the United States was passed in Virginia in 1640 and explicitly banned black people from owning guns, even if they were not slaves. More than 200 years later, in 1857, a prospect of armed black people became a crucial factor in the Dred Scott case, as Scott attempted to become an American citizen with all its inalienable rights that included owning a gun. The court ruled that a Negro whose ancestors were imported in this country and sold as slaves was not intended to be included in the general works used in the Constitution. Following the Civil War, when blacks people attempted to arm themselves against white supremacists, Southern state governments passed the so-called black codes, barring them from owning guns. Throughout the 1960s, the Black Panthers chose to open carry in California as a sign to police that they would no longer endure racial attacks. In 1967, 30 Black Panthers protested on the steps of the California State House, armed with shotguns and pistols, and they announced that the time has come for black people to arm themselves. The move frightened politicians, and it wasn't long before then Governor Ronald Reagan signed a state ban on open carry into law in the state of California called the Morford Act. Whitney Davis of Houston admits that learning more about black history is the reason why she recently purchased 2 guns for herself. I realized in this country a long time ago, black people weren't even allowed to own guns, she said. Davis's dad grew up on a ranch in rural Texas where over his lifetime he acquired a lot of guns, but it wasn't until Davis learned more about her black ancestors that she felt motivated to buy guns of her own. So just like people promote that our ancestors died for us to vote, they also died for us to be able to carry guns as well, she said. So I wanted to fulfill what my ancestors weren't able to do in the past. David endorses a common rationale voiced by proponents of easing restrictions on guns. If everybody knows that everybody has a gun, then maybe a lot of less likely to attack people or hurt people, she said. If everyone knows if you have a gun, I got one too, it's an equal playing field. Despite the increase in black ownership and general knowledge about black history, many black people have still lost their lives over owning a gun. In 2016, legal gun owner Philando Castile was shot after informing a Minnesota police officer that he was armed. And 2 years prior, Tamir Rice was killed by a Cleveland police officer while holding a toy gun. John Crawford suffered the same fate in Beaverton Creek, Ohio Walmart. On July 25th, Gad Foster, a white man, attended a Black Lives Matter protest in Austin, Texas, carrying a semi-automatic rifle. After a confrontation with a motorist, Foster was shot dead. And on July 25th, the move for African Americans to own guns appears to be a break from the progressive movement in American politics, which people of color generally align with. The Congressional Black Caucus has pushed for stricter gun control measures in the past, most recently following 2 mass shootings of El Paso, Texas, and Dayton, Ohio. We have worked vigorously with House Democrats to pass a universal background check legislation, and Karen Bass of California, chairman of the Black Caucus, said in the aftermath of those 2 tragedies, the lawmakers said the CBC has also backed a bill to ban a loophole in gun control law introduced by Majority Whip, but they did not return. Bass did not return a request for comment. So it's going on right now. So advocates for black gun ownership as a tool for self-defense and pushes gun safety, but it acknowledges the fact that fear makes people buy things. He said, I love that so many black people are buying guns. He said, if you're a racist and you think that one group is inferior to another, then you should think again, because everybody's on the same playing field when the stakes are the same. So, legal gun ownership, legal, not illegal, legal. Get your paperwork, get your permits.
It's KP's Video News, y'all. It's KP's Video News, y'all.
That's right, folks. Peace.